In 1966, I'd been elevated to assistant manager of flying in Vietnam. My duties included accident reports and investigating accidents. Two accident reports that I filed with the company were catastrophic events. One was a DC-3 that had gone up to Da Nang, and this is one of our DC-3s that had come out of Laos, an American captain and a Chinese co-pilot. The weather was bad, and we did what they called scud run, back when we had the bad weather to get into strips that were easily accessible that way. This strip that he was going to was Hue, which is just up the coast from Da Nang. So to get there when the bad weather was around, you stayed under the clouds, the low cloud deck, and jigged out over the South China Sea. When you got a beam of Hue, you turned left and headed west for the airport. There was a low ridge just inside the beach, in between you and the airport. He thought he was in the low clouds and was going to clear it, but he didn't, and that was a catastrophic end. The bodies were catapulted out of the cabin, and some of the wreckage cleared the ridge, but all were fatal. One of our loadmasters, American loadmaster, went up there to help retrieve the remains and found a young Vietnamese girl who had gold bars taped to her legs and returned that to their family versus giving it to the government where it would disappear. This was one event, but wasn't too much longer after that. We had an ex-Navy enlisted pilot who had joined Air America. Good pilot. And he'd checked out in the Twin Beach and then into the Volpar, the Turbo Beach, which was kind of a step up. And he was tasked with the same thing, up to Da Nang and then to Hue. And he made the same mistake and impacted that ridge and ended his career in aviation. The side effect from that thing was that we looked into his records, and he had a last will and testament. Being ex-Navy, he wanted to be cremated and his ashes scattered at sea, which was kind of a normal thing back in those days. And we sent the body down to a Buddhist crematorium and got the still warm urn back from them. And there was a Navy pilot flying the DC-3s with a Chinese co-pilot. And we instructed him to take it out over the South China Sea and scatter his ashes as desired. And he did. He went out over the South China Sea on the way up to Da Nang. And instead of throwing the whole urn out the window, he thought he'd scatter them as the wishes were in the will. And he took the lid off that, slid the cockpit window open, and tried to ease the mouth of that into the slipstream. Well, this promptly took the ashes back into the cockpit and coated them with the somewhat slightly greasy remains. And the Chinese co-pilot refused to fly with him ever again after that event. He was exposed to a lot of ribbing after that in the ready room, and he never forgot that. Bye.